Hello, welcome to the Lovely Minute. Right after Shell Mandai, we're now cycling along the Kranji Way. We're actually be passing later on the Kranji Dam, going to Tiew. You can see in front of the camera, we've got Lito Maldito, and I'll let you see who are the guys behind these. So we've got Red, we've got Uncle Mike, and the rest of the crew, Glen and BR and Stanley and Entong. So yep, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very dynamic. There's a lot of twists and turns here when you talk about Tiew. This is actually the first segment if you're doing the around the island. This is part of the round the island video that we'll be making, but we just basically cut it segment per segment, so you get to see Lito Maldito pulling the group, the pack, and stay beside and took turn. This is actually the first climb of the segment, so it's a bit of a climb. You're talking about 1 to 2 to 4 gradient, and it's pretty painful as well if you can sustain. But if you're a climber, then you can actually sustain probably 42 or 40 speed. But in my case, I'm just an average climber, so probably around 35, 37 would be good for me. And yep, it's pretty nice, and you get to see later on there's a lot of cyclists as well doing the other way around. So part of Tiew, this is where the Sungai Bulu car park, the Sungai Bulu wetland, the reservoir, the Kranji Way, the Kranji Reservoir rather. So there's a lot of things. There's actually a lot of restaurants here, surprisingly. There are a lot of restaurants here and a lot of parks as well. So you get to see those lights blinking. Those are other groups as well doing the other way around. So we've got Bistro, Garden Asia. We've got the Krebs Lovers Farms here. So for those guys who haven't really visited this part, it's a very nice place. It's good for cyclists. It's good for runners. I don't know if there are runners here. I mean, if I'm a runner, I'd rather not. It's a bit spooky and eerie, this place. So, yep. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be the first ride. It's actually my first time riding with BBB. I just realized. And yep, I stepped aside, and Red took over, followed by Uncle Mike, and we've got Glen, and who's that? Lito Maldito, who just did his pull earlier. So the rest of the guys decided not to pull, and they just decided to stay behind. And I took the liberty of really bridging the gap as well, because it's pretty hard, and it's pretty they're basically setting up a very high speed. Not really very, but high for me. I don't know if it's high for you. It's very very subjective to say the least. So yep. Tiew, ups and downs, twists and turns. We call it the mountain stage. This is the only mountain stage for the for the 4 stages. The 4 stages are, we've got Tiew, we've got Lim Chu Kang, we've got some of guys added Sungai Bulu, Jalan Buru, not Sungai Bulu, but the Keppel Viaduct. If you guys want to go to the TMCR area, it's a pretty long time trial mode kind of course. So it's pretty flat and pretty windy. It's really designed and ideal for those guys who are time trialists. So I know some guys who can really do 60 kph there. They can average at 42, 45, or 46. So yep, those are really strong guys, considering the fact that it's pretty flat and you're pretty much open. But going back to the video on that, the Tiew. So yep, you get to see all those guys in front of me. They're just basically enjoying the 36 kilometers per hour. So I think Red is done pulling, and it's Uncle Mike that's doing the pull. This one is a bit of a climb as well. So how I wish you could see the gradient on my GPS or my head unit. So you just saw Lito Maldito make a pothole signal to avoid that obstacle. So it's pretty safe. There's a lot of things that you get to notice here. Lito Maldito doing the chicken wing. If there's any obstacle, that should be the case. So you get to see earlier, yeah, he flicks both of his elbows just to let you guys know, and the guys behind know that there is an obstacle that you can't avoid. So all you have to do is just, you know, hey, heads up. So it's 39, 40. It's a bit of a downhill. You get to see that Glen is freewheeling and approaching the right turn. So you have to be, you know, your eyes should be on the road. This part, you can't afford to just, you know, look at your wheels or look at someone else's wheels, but you have to be focused, and you really have to take a look at, you know, the road where it leads you. It's in turns. The road is not really that paved that much. There's a lot of areas that there's sands and pebbles and whatnot, and say strips ahead. So there's another strip ahead, and you get to see Lito Maldito probably gonna flick again later on. There's a hump in front of us. So Uncle Mike's still doing the pool. It's a decent pool. It's a pretty long pool, and I don't know if he will pay for it later on. And I don't know if during the Lim Chu Kang segment he paid for it. You know, he actually stepped aside from the peloton and wasn't able to really join. But this time you can actually say this guy's a pretty big bloke. You might wonder that, you know, people would say that, you know, if you're a climber you have to be small and so on and so forth, but this guy can climb. You know, you look at those calves and look at those thighs, man. I mean, phew. So again, little flicks. So guys, if you get to see obstacles that you can't avoid, just to warn the people behind you or the cyclist behind you, just flick your elbow. And you also need to flick your elbow when you're gonna do off the saddle. You know, if you wanna do an off the saddle kind of, you know, power. So because chances may be your rear wheel will be swinging left and right. So just to avoid touch wheels and overlapping, or just flick the elbow just to signal that, okay, I'm gonna do off the saddle kind of thing. So be aware of it. So Glen is now pulling. You get to see it's pretty nice twist and turn. Just imagine this is the terrain. This is the course that you will be greeted with. Actually, right, the Mandai. Next time I'm gonna do the Mandai segment, coming from the crossing of Ishan Avenue 1, and at the same time the Simbaong Hills, and going to the Mandai Avenue until the Shell, because there's also a bit of a climb there. It's a rolling course, and if you're not really a big fan of climbing, then you might be having a hard time keeping up the pace. So yep, Glen is done with his pool. Now it's Lito Maldito. Pretty relaxed, you know, just the cadence is just nice. They say if you're climbing, your cadence should be above 60 RPM, just to have a decent, not to overstretch yourself and not to really kill yourself when it comes to climbing. So 60 would be a decent one, 62, 65, 70 would be a good one. Some of the guys are spinners. They actually go 90 to 100. In my case, I'm not really a spinner. I'm actually in between. I used to be a grinder, but you know, things are pretty crazy right now. As you get older, you can no longer exert or produce power as before, so you just have to be a spinner as well. So yep, so this is a bit of a climb. I took over and I just realized Uncle Mike was behind, and he's actually did a very good climb over there. So there you have it. He did an off the saddle, and this is segment 1, then U2, and that's Uncle Mike, who said he can't climb. He's a good climber. In bikes, yeah, not a social climber one. But anyways, yep, that's the new Tiew segment. This is the Lovely Minute. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya. Ciao.